guys, this is Introducing Emmy, and we're back with another Redline Tuesday. This drawing and the one I'm going to do right after, because remember I'm going to do two at a time now, neither of them really had very good sources, but you know who you are, who drew them and everything, so it was just kind of a coincidence that they both didn't have like a name attached, just an email address, and I didn't want to put it out there for the world to see, I guess, so... Okay, so what I'm going to do first is just kind of contour the edge of the head here. I'm going to give him slightly more of a cheek. Then let's draw a center line. It feels like, so the bottom of this lens is here and the bottom of this lens is here. If you kind of eyeball it across, they're not even. So I'm going to set the bridge area of the nose just a little bit higher to try to compensate for equalizing, is that a word, equalizing or like leveling out where the glasses are, okay? And I also am following the jaw here. So now we've got a jaw, cheek, center line, and part of the forehead. So now all we have to do is kind of find where the skull is. I like to put a little contour leading from the jaw to the back of the skull. This sort of shows the slight or gentle flatness of the side of the head. So let's continue our crosshairs here. Now, when you draw this center line, don't go like that, okay? Because this isn't flat, this has a curve, so we want to kind of like follow, we could actually do sort of like this. We want to follow this sort of cheeky curve. So from the side, it would look kind of like that. Okay, and there's the back of the head and whatnot. Oh, that's a big back of the head. Also, this is the first drawing I've done today, so I just got up not long ago, so I apologize if this is sounding a little tired. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to do here is, I am not sure if there's any eyebrows in this picture, if there's supposed to be, but I think the eyebrow would be right about there. You know, right at the top of the glasses. So a little tip is, from the peak of the eyebrow, I should say the natural eyebrow. If you have a character that has like penciled on eyebrows that go like way up into an arc, you'll want to do the natural ridge of the brow. Basically the top of the eye socket. So top of the eye socket, that's where the top of the ear is, and from about the nose over, so remember you're contouring around, alright? So actually this should be just a teeny slower. So you're contouring around the face, don't just draw like this. The head is round, so we're going to go around. I feel like my pencil is just really, really light today. Turn my minimum diameter, or minimum something or other. What was that? Yeah, minimum diameter. I'm just going to turn that up a little bit so it can't go to like a wispy hairline, basically. Okay, so there's our ear. So let's see, from here, let's, before we move on to the face more, let's just quickly draw the neck. So notice the neck is a little long. So see where this curve is? Let's just move it up a tiny bit. So if you ever have trouble trying to figure out kind of like the like how wide open the V on the joining clavicle should be, I kind of like to draw like a little line down the neck, just like that, and that kind of helps sort of figure out this whole area. Okay, so you don't have to go this detailed, like if you don't want all these like different well, details like little edges of bones and whatnot, because this is a more like anime style and they tend to go a little on the less side of detail rather than the more side. So if you don't want all this, just exclude some of it. However, try to keep hints of it there, otherwise you're gonna start looking a little flat. Same thing if this was, I don't know if this is a male character or not. If this is a male character, you might want to put just like a little shadow or like a little line there for where the Adam's apple is. Again, don't have to. Not everybody has like very prominent Adam's apples, but I found that I used to never draw them, and then I'm not sure when I started drawing them on my male characters, but it really did help like make them look not so boring. I don't know. It's like an extra fun little thing, you know. Girls get boobs and curves, and guys get Adam's apples, I guess. So, and flat butts. So you know me, I like to put a little triangle shadow right under the chin. Don't have to do that, just something I do. So I'm actually going to just erase this line here for now, just so I can draw the nose and show you that. So let's draw the edge of the eye socket, and then let's just do a gentle curve down into our little anime nose. With a little shadow outline on the side there. Hold on, I want to clean that little bit up. I'm just not drawing a good nose shadow today. There we go. And then for the mouth, it's sort of leaning up. I think he's or she is supposed to have more of a blank expression, so let's just sort of make sure that this lip over here, see in the original it's like a little lower, it's sort of like sagging down a little bit. Let's just make sure it's just a little bit higher. And I'm going to flatten this cheek just a tiny bit more to try to match the original. And in doing that, I'm actually going to try to soften the jaw a little bit more. So one other thing, if you need some more help doing like contours and whatever, or what have you. I hate to say whatever. It sounds so like flippant, like I don't know what I'm talking about, and I totally do. Another thing to help with your contours is to just draw like a little line. This sort of helps you helps you figure out sort of the narrowness of the face, and depending on like how high or how low you draw it, it sort of changes your perception of these shapes. I hope that makes sense, and if you want to get real fancy, you can sort of go like that. This is sort of like the temple, and then the outside contour of the eye socket. Again, this isn't stuff you would necessarily draw, but it should help you kind of find your landmarks a little easier. Or I should say, they shouldn't be in the final piece, I guess what I'm trying to say. You don't want to put all these contours in. This is just to help you set up your drawing so you know what you want to ink and what you don't want to ink. Or however you choose to finish it, what you want to paint or don't want to paint. So, also, this eye socket is going to be a little more exaggerated just because this is a little overly curved right there. I know. Okay, so let's do the glasses, and I'll show you a cool trick to do them in Photoshop anyway. With doing this on paper, I would say, okay, so let me show you how to do it on paper first, and then I'll show my trick. So glasses, I just heard my dog have the biggest sigh. So glasses are kind of like a box sitting on the face. Okay. I'm actually going to change, I always do this. I'm going to change this color real quick. Let's roll it to a green, I guess. Hope you guys can see that okay. I'll multiply it too. I don't know if this is the same green, but this is the one I'm using. Okay, so what you want to do is draw kind of like a little outline here. And make sure to draw your box in perspective around the head, okay? So this is going to be your setup for your glasses. So let's find the center of our glasses. Let's follow our midline down, which I actually drew a little too far over to the left. And there we go. So now what we're going to do is we need to make sure, let's draw our nose pieces. Depending on what kind of glasses you're drawing and all that, this is all going to change. Let's just draw some nice curves there. So there's no real easy way to do this. You just have to kind of eyeball it. I'm actually going to draw like a little No, that's too low, isn't it? Yeah. I wear glasses. I should know all this. I can't say I draw glasses a lot, though. Okay. So glasses, also when drawing the shine, I wouldn't just do lines. Sunglasses are concave, so the shine is going to be like more, sort of swoopy, I don't know a good word for it, with sort of a lighter gradient up here and then a darker down here. So, but if the glasses are like totally flat, then have at it, Haas. Draw like, you know, your straight shines or what have you. Okay, so there's that. And the way that I would do this in Photoshop, at least to draw the front part of the glasses, this is so cheaty. So what I would do is draw like one lens the way I'd want it to look. So I'll just draw whatever. Okay, draw a little nose piece. This looks more like goggles, I apologize. So I hope he's not too distracting, but just work with me here. So then what I would do is I would duplicate the layer. I would mirror it. Drag it about the approximate distance I want it away from the other ones. I have enough room to draw a nose bridge. Now here's where the trick comes in. So see how this side up here, like using this as the example, this side's like a little shorter or shallower than this side. This takes up, oh, sorry, this takes up more room than this side does width-wise. So what you want to do is just slightly bring it in. Okay, I'm going to collapse those down. And here you can either do it now or whenever. This is just a sketch. I wouldn't recommend doing this for inking. So just draw your nose bridge however you want it. Again, looking kind of like goggles. And then hit T for transform and line everything up to how you want it. If you hold down Control while you're over top, I'm not clicking down by the way, but if you hold down Control before you put your mouse down on these little transformation pegs, these like little toggles, you'll get a white arrow. This means that you can distort when you drag. See how that works? Same thing here. So we're just going to distort. I'm going to resize a little more. So now I didn't really draw this to match his face, but if you can kind of like use your imaginations, this is one way that you could do the glasses, okay? At least in Photoshop. Alright, so let's do the hood and then we'll move on to the next drawing here. And I'll do it in this pink. Sorry, just getting a piece of hair out of my face. Alright, so the hood. So there's like a little gem which is kind of helpful. So now I can like match it more to the center. Now I am no hood expert, but I have drawn some. I'm trying to think of an easy way to do this or an easy way to explain this. So let's have the hood follow the back of the head, but give it just a little bit more space. Move it away from the skull just a little bit. Alright, so that's kind of the easy part because you can just follow your drawing of the skull. And now, I guess what I'm deciding here is how much I want to change this. So generally hoods kind of don't flare like this unless it's, like I'm thinking more like a sweatshirt hood, you know, like a hoodie. But if you're thinking more like Assassin's Creed, they kind of like go down more in a bell shape. So I'm just thinking here. I'll try to follow your contours. So our beautiful ear is pretty much going to get covered. Just trying to mirror this. Okay. So now, one thing you want to remember is no matter how simple the curve is on the hood, or like if you do a hood that has like a whole bunch of ruffles, you basically are going to use your little ruffle drawing trick that I've done in a bunch of other videos. So you remember how I taught you guys to do this sort of a dealio? And then you draw lines back to a tension point, and then you have basically ruffles for a dress. And you can like practice this like, you know, when you're on the phone or whatever, you can just sort of doodle it. You can make all kinds of crazy shapes and then go back to a tension point and it'll look really cool. So you can like do jagged, just like that. Okay, so really easy little trick there, but you're basically going to be doing the same thing for the hood. So you're just sort of going to imply, but see how there's like not as much tension here, but you're just going to imply kind of it all dragging back on these curves. So again, let's say I had instead chose to go more like this. I want to make sure that I'm kind of, either through inking or through shading, I'm accentuating this curve. All right. Yeah, so I'm not totally sure how this is supposed to come together down here, but it probably should be a little more centered. And just for fun, let's put some cool hair on him. I think like right here, I would just flatten that down a little more. Oops, I meant to do that. So yeah, the way that I've corrected the neck, this allows, in my version, the neck has more of a space back here. So the treatment for that area can be however you choose. I would probably leave the hair having, I don't know what his hair is like back there, but I would leave the hair having some detail. But then I usually just would fill this in with a solid shadow or dark color back there. Yeah. Yep, that's what I would do. So there we go. That is this one, and I think it's a real cute little drawing. So I hope I've helped with tightening it up a little bit here. I'm actually gonna just duplicate that so the red's a little easier to see, the actual red line part. So thanks to the person who sent this in, who I think was like they sent it in for their friend or something. So there you go. There it is. Now let's move on to our next one. Let me get my red back together. Again, I'm not totally sure who sent this one. I apologize, but here we go. So as always, I like to start with the neck. This isn't always where I start when I'm doing my drawings. I like to start with an overall pose, but the reason I start with the neck on your guys' stuff is because it's already drawn, and I feel like the neck and the head are kind of big, important anchor points for the body and like for your composition. So that's where I like to start when I'm correcting stuff. But you guys should start more, like if you're doing a pose or whatever, I'll just draw something random. So you guys should do more of like this kind of stuff when you're starting your you know, your stuff into your hair or whatever. So and then you can go in, like pretend all that stuff was still there, and then you can go in and start, you know, doing your details or what have you, adding clothing and breasts and all that. So yeah, I just want to make that clear. I don't want you guys to think I'm teaching wrong. This isn't a how to start your sketches series. This is a more like, this is what your sketches should push towards. And I'd like to think I know a little bit of what I'm doing here. So I realize that he has some pretty thick hair and dreads, and I'm not sure how much of this is flat up here and like how much of this is supposed to be skull, but I'm gonna guess this is pretty close to, I think, where his skull contours would be. So here you can actually see this person has actually started to kind of draw some of what I was saying in the last video. Again, this is more stylized. Obviously, this is more of like a semi-cartoony, semi-realism sort of thing. Okay. So this is actually a really cool time to show this. One thing I like to do with my eyebrows for characters that have like really slightly more prominent brow ridges. I don't do it with all my characters, like some of my female characters. I don't do this as much because I feel like it can make them look a little too like gruff and rough and tough, and if that's not what I'm going for, then I don't want that to happen. But if they're really upset or something, I'll sometimes show this because their brows will be furrowed. But I like to kind of draw like a little pocket on top, and then later you can use a little bit of that to add some lines on his face. But I like to kind of know where the push is coming from, and this will also let me know like kind of approximately where my hairline should be depending on the character. So the nose and the mouth are kind of like twisting and going off this way, so we're just going to bring them in a little bit more. Just get them back onto the face. So one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to have nose lines, like the edge of the nose, stop right at the cheek. I like to either have it go a little bit beyond or a little bit in. Personal preference, I guess. Just I don't like them touching. I think it looks strange, so. So the chin should, or that little, what do you call that? It's not the chin, it's like that little scoop underneath the lip. That's where that should be. So it's okay to draw the lips onto one side of the face, but make sure they're not sticking too far out for the angle that your head's at, because it can either look pouty or a little drippy or twisted. I'm not sure how to say explain that any better, but sometimes it can look like it's like being pulled, like somebody's like taking his lips like that and just being like, come here, you're coming with me, little lippy, and just looks like a duck head. But you know, like if this was a hand, they're just like pulling on it like, you're just gonna come with me, little lip, and just taking it away. So just make sure that the lips aren't too prominently, you know, same thing with like the nose and everything. You don't want everything sticking out. Oh, but the glasses look great, by the way. I should have pointed that out. We just did one with glasses, so this is like a lot what you want to go for. Much better drawing glasses than I did. So let's draw our gauged ear. And I noticed everybody has their own way to draw ears, so I'm not going to get too fussy about that. As long as it still looks like an ear, good to go. Okay. Sorry, force of habit, just outline and everything. Okay. So the eyes, even though they're under the glasses, you can't see them, so, or you can see them. Sorry, it sounded like I said can't. So let's just go in there and kind of make sure they are looking solid. I'm going to make his eyes dark for now, just so it's a little easier to read them in the red line. So make sure that your eyebrows on the far side of the head don't end too short. So make sure they really follow and mirror the other side. So make sure they really follow this contour. A lot of times I'll even draw the eyebrows sort of like wrapping around if if it calls for it. This is a little different. So it's kind of interesting. I noticed that this eye is closer to the bottom edge of the top part of the frame than this eye is. So do you see how this eye is almost touching that, but this one isn't? So one of these eyes needs to be moved, and I'm thinking it's gonna be this one. Yeah, I didn't even follow my own center line. See how this one cuts directly through the eye and this one doesn't? Bad Emmy. So let's just give it a little... Let me leave my center line here so I can try to... And just give it a little twist. There we go. Alright, so I think some of the more complicated parts are out of the way. So let's take a little step back from our drawing. I'm going to do one last thing. I think this eye might be like bigger and not just from perspective than the other eye, so I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller and push it back out. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now to do this arm. So see how the picture crops off where the elbow joint is? We are going to have to extend the canvas, and this looks to be drawn digitally. I highly, highly recommend that if you can extend your canvas comfortably, that you should. You should always draw, you know, anything that's very clockwork to your composition. So, you know, knowing where this elbow is really important, because that affects how you draw his shoulder, his bicep, his forearm, his hand, da da da. You know, it's just like a constant progression of life. Okay, so I've given us some more room to work with down here. And let me just lock that off. Okay, I'm saving. So let's kind of figure out where his back is, his chest, and we'll draw his arm socket. Put a little X there, like a little doll, like a little Ken doll with his arms yanked off. So, and then we'll draw kind of where his pecs would be. I know they're not really in the picture, but again, helpful nonetheless to know all this. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to choose a different color. I'm actually going to go just a tad lighter on the blue. Just turning all the colors down a little bit. So let's go with another green so you can see it easier. So now we're going to draw the arm. Okay. So it's important to remember the hand is about the same size as the face. So if he was to put his hand up to his face, it should feel like, which way would the thumb be if he took his hand? Okay, I had to do it to myself. So his thumb would be on this side. His hand should rest nicely like that. So even with perspective, you can see that this is just slightly larger. The hand's like kind of longer, I guess is what I should say. It's sort of, yeah. Okay, so that's what we are going to do here, is just kind of shrink things down just a teeny bit. So first we're going to draw, let's see how we should do this. Let's draw the bar, because this is where we want it. I also noticed the little ice cream sandwich is a little off on perspective. I'll just fix it for you real quick there. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. There's our ice cream sandwich. I shouldn't have shouldn't have done that. Let's make it orange. Okay. I'll go to a new layer, multiply, pick a green, brighter green. Okay, there we go. Should have thought ahead about that. So anyway, so now we've got this sort of like little, we've got 2 points now. We know where the ice cream bar is and we know where the shoulder socket is. So we have to connect all 3, okay? So if you need to, you just draw a little line. So we're going to guess like the palm is going to be hitting the candy bar here. It's going to be on the side. So I guess the line should be a little lower. Whatever. It's about the right shape there. This isn't rocket science, okay? So if this was in perspective, meaning like if his hand or his arm was twisted more going around his body, you couldn't do this trick so easily. Maybe you could. I think you need to finesse it a little bit. So we're just going to try to find about the center here. Draw a line down. And somewhere in here is going to be our elbow. So let's see here. Now the reason that I didn't go here is because the hand, we're going to change the hand so that he has it more wrapped around like this. Okay. So actually I should probably put it more, I went a little high. Let's put it more like right there. But I think it's still going to be in about the same spot. So connect X. Yeah, it's still pretty much going to be in the exact same spot. And before I go any further, I need to make this hand just a little smaller. It's a little fisty. That sounds nasty. Okay, so the best way to think of this is that if you take your arm and you bend it up so that your hand is flat and it's going up to touch your shoulder, so you go from like a 90-degree angle with your arm, so like this, that's your shoulder, and you bend it up, you'll notice that this and this are approximately the same length. So from the shoulder to the elbow, and then from the elbow to the wrist. You kind of have to exclude the hand, it's its own thing, it's doing whatever. But your hand should come up above your shoulder just a little bit up there, but it should be about the same length all around, okay? So this is the art of finding where your elbow goes when so that should be about really roughing this out. I'm sorry. I like to kind of feel for it. This seems a little long, doesn't it? That's okay. It is art. You have to sort of feel your way through it, I guess. So I'm not sure how like bicep-y and muscular this guy's supposed to be, but we're gonna do something like this. This still feels like long up here. I'm trying to keep it where it needs to be, but I think our best bet is going to be to kind of shrink this whole thing down a little bit. So let me combine the ice cream bar, and I'm going to move everything down just a little bit. And I'm also going to, just the size of this feels really huge for some reason. Again, I know this is supposed to be a little closer than the head, but it's still like comparatively, it's quite a bit. So, okay, one last thing, and I actually found out this the other day. I was kind of adjusting a character's leg in a scene. When you have to adjust a character, like using the transform tool, don't just twist it like from wherever the little crosshair is. Take it and move it down to about where you think the pivot point would be. That way when you move it, it feels slightly natural. You'll probably have to still like adjust it a little bit, but it should feel better. Okay, so I'm actually going to go over this in red just to smooth it out a little bit. Make it all matchy-matchy. Makes me happy when it's matchy-matchy. You having a problem here? Okay, there it goes. I should probably turn Lazy Nezumi on for some of this. God bless you, Lazy Nezumi. You're doing God's work over here, helping me with my lines. These lines are just so long and smooth. I want them to be perfect for you guys. Lazy Nezumi, you're not doing your job. Turn up the smoothie a little bit. There we go. I'm a fickle creature. Gosh. So for something like this, this would actually be hard for even little old me to draw. I have trouble drawing characters like really grasping things. I should probably work on that. The other week there, I spent a lot of time just drawing this kind of an area, the way the shoulder connects into the upper arm and the bicep. I just kept drawing that section over and over, but I think I need to move on to graspy hands. Yeah, I'm really not doing you any favors here, but I can at least say that I feel that the character should be really holding it, maybe not like giving it the clench of death here, but I mean, more than just sort of, I'm not even sure how he's holding that there. And again, his hand's just looking a little large. Okay. So here he has kind of like his sleeves rolled up, I think. So some of this will be kind of bunchy and a little lost, but remember that you can't just have a character's arm dipping way out of frame and then coming back up without any sort of inkling of where the anatomy connects. I really like this drawing though. I like the oranges. So just kind of draw a little bit of shirt there. I wonder who this character is or like what he does. I don't really... Usually when you send me drawings, unless it's like fan art, it's usually original characters though. I really don't know anything about your characters, you know? And I don't want to know. No, I'm kidding. I'm just being a pill. Okay, so there we go. I probably shouldn't really spend much more time on this, but I hope that some of this helped you out some. Let me crop it back. Should I? I'll leave it like this just so you guys can kind of see what's going on below the surface there. I am, however, going to flatten this all down. Try to get these to curve more. Oh, I could probably fickle around with that forever. But yeah, there we go. So, oh, one last thing. This looks pretty much okay. In fact, your perspective on a lot of the harder objects, like the solid surfaces, like the glasses, the ice cream bar, the bench here, they all look good, but just... I just want to check, because I'm a bad person. So I think he's supposed to be coming up off of this a little bit, like he's sort of going like that way. He's like, what? You know? So, I'm debating like how the, if they would fall behind or, it doesn't really matter, I guess. It's just preference. Just make sure that your shadows aren't, well, what's the lighting here? Yeah, I think the shadows are just a little off in perspective. I think they just need to be tucked in a little more. Just a little, like right there. Yeah, I like it. Alright, so that'll be all for this time. So I want to thank both of these two people, and you know who you are. If you want to go ahead and take credit for your drawings in the comments, go for it. Also, keep sending in your Redline Tuesdays to emy, emy.bitner, bitner, at IntroducingEmy.com. Sounds like a song. Make sure that they are your drawings, or if they are a friend's drawings, make sure you have permission. I don't want to be doing somebody's like little sister's art and she doesn't know and she's like, oh no, you know, she critiqued my art without permission, so that kind of thing. So to keep things safe, please just be sending your own art. I don't mind doing a friend's, but if your friend gets mad at me, I'm totally blaming you. So send in your own art. Please don't send traces of pre-existing art. So like don't send me like a trace of like a Spider-Man drawing or something like that, because I'm just going to tell you, go look at the original drawing. Or, you know, if you're trying to kind of find a backhanded way to get me to like critique an already done drawing. Do you get what I'm kind of saying? Like, I don't want to critique Spider-Man drawings. I don't want to critique Batman drawings. I want to critique your drawings. But if it is fan art of Batman or fan art of Spider-Man or fan art of whatever, I will do that, just so long as it's your original drawing, pose, anatomy, composition, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, great. So keep sending them in. Just write Redline Tuesday in the subject line, and I'll keep doing them 2 a week for now. So we're going to get caught up a lot quicker than I thought we were. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!